The Maharal was not a personality like that, but he has which is very interesting. Usually I like to discuss someone a little bit controversial because it's more interesting. But tonight's a little bit different. The Maharal's not that controversial, although his life, which we do not know all that much about, and particularly his Torah, is fascinating. Now, this is a statue that was made in the 1900s of the Maharal in Prague. And it's a huge statue which many visitors go to see today in Prague. Now, the Maharal, we know when he passed away. He passed away in the year 1609. If you think about it, he was like 500 years ago. He lived around 500 years ago, the Maharal, which reminds me, in one place he writes, which is quite common for authors, you know, one of the signs that the sages give as a sign of Moshiach being imminent is it says that chutzpah yazki, which means that chutzpah will be great. You know, at that time, chutzpah will be great. There'll be chaos. You know, the world will have lost its way. So the Maharal says in his time, in a place in one of his books, he says, if this is not the time for Mashiach, I don't know when it is. Can you imagine what he would have said if he saw us today? Anyway, so it's rather amusing that it's a question of perspective. So that's what he writes in one of his books. The Maharal, one second. Okay, my mouse just got off course. Okay, Maharal is an acronym for Morenu Harav, Lowy, or Levi. It depends, there's different ways of pronouncing it. In English, they usually write it L-O-E-W. The Hebrew is written like Levi. So that's where Maharal is an acronym. Maharal, the Mem and the Hay stand for Morenu Harav and the Reish, and then the Lamed stands for Levi. But his actual first name, interestingly enough, is not included in there, right? Like many times, the name of the person, the actual name is in, for example, the Rambam, right, is Rabbeinu Moshe ben Maimon. His actual first name is included in the acronym. The Maharal, for some reason, why, I have no idea, but for some reason he was known by his last name. I have no idea why that is. It's pretty interesting. His actual first name, which was Yehuda, is not Judah. Yehuda is not in the acronym of his in the acronym that we usually refer to him as, which is rather interesting. Why that is, I haven't got a clue. Okay, let's go through very briefly, like we usually do, his family background. His genealogy could be traced back to King David. Once you trace your genealogy a certain distance back to Babylon, you could automatically say that you were from the descendants of King David. One of those individuals that was able to do that was the Maharal. It said, by the way, about the Gaon. The Gaon also, once you can get basically back to Rashi also has a link to David HaMelech. So once you can get back there, then you can get all the way back. So it's well known that his genealogy could be traced back to King David. Now, his father was Rabbi Betzalel Lawi, and he was born in the city of Worms. His father, the city of Worms, of course, is in the Rhineland of Germany. A very well-known Jewish city. There were many tragic pogroms in that part of the world, but there were also tremendous great Torah communities and Torah scholars in that part of the world. So his father was a rabbi, and he was born in the city of Worms. His uncle, Jacob ben Chaim, was chief rabbi of the empire. And so he was a very distinguished character. His brother's name was Chaim of Freiburg, and he was also a well-known rabbinic scholar. So we know for sure that he came from a family of great yichus. Right? He came from a family of great genealogy, and his father, his brother, and others, and his father and brother and uncle excelled. They were rabbis and Torah scholars. So he certainly came from good stock. I'm going to ask you all to hold on for 10 seconds. I'm going to be back right now. So just something to do for 1 second. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So this was his family background. So he came from a prestigious rabbinic family. There's no question that he learnt Torah by his father. Now, the truth is that we don't actually know. Often we know who learned from who. For example, Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, he learned by Rav Yaakov Ettlinger. So we very often know kind of who studied from who. When it comes to Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, when it comes to the Maharal, we're not quite sure where he learned. There is, which I'm going to mention now. Oh, don't do that to me. There is, which I'm going to mention right now. Actually, just to show you first of all in a map, the Maharal was actually born. His father was born in Germany, somewhere around here, in the Rhineland. He was reportedly born near Warsaw. Okay, near Warsaw. It's called Ponzan. The place is called Ponzan, near Warsaw. He was apparently born there, and then of course he's well known for being in Prague. So it is quite a distance between the two of them. Now, that's what I mentioned to you. He probably studied from family members, and it's brought down. Many scholars say that he actually learned most of what he learned from books. However, whilst I accept that, I also reject it. And the reason is because the Maharal, it's well known, the Maharal writes himself that you cannot become a great Torah scholar unless you have what's called Shimush Talmidei Chachamim. Torah is not just an intellectual wisdom. It's a spiritual wisdom, and it's something that has to be absorbed. If you take a person and you take a person in isolation, he's on a desert island, and he discovers a Talmudic library, and he learns the vocab, he learns the Talmudic dictionary, he learns how to learn, he does everything. I believe that person, and he learns his entire life. Yes, he would have fulfilled the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Could you call him a real Talmud Chacham? Probably not. Why? A real Torah scholar, a great Torah scholar? Probably not. Because he never saw from example what it means to live a Torah life.